This talk is about understanding and managing depression. To begin with, we can look at what are the signs of depression. So for many people, signs of depression are feeling sad, feeling anxious, and sometimes feeling guilty or feeling shame. So that's quite a lot. Like those four emotions have quite a lot in them, and they are all, I suppose, spectrums. You can be very deeply sad or just mildly sad. You can be overwhelmed with shame or with guilt, or just have a mild piece in there. Anxiety can be through the roof, or you can be just mildly anxious, like a car that's turned on but not actually driving. So if you are feeling sad or anxious or guilty or shame, it's really important to admit that to yourself and write. Journaling can be very helpful. So writing down, well, actually I'm feeling this way, and think about, what is that? Like, why have I got this feeling, and what is coming up for me? What's it related to in my past? And you could really take some time to try and unravel. The feeling in depression is really the key to telling you why you are depressed, what is going on in there. So if you sit and journal about it, sit and write about it, or go to someone and talk about it, and really look at that emotion and what is it telling you, what is it saying to you. Often with things like guilt and shame, they can be tightly held almost beliefs about ourselves that are not necessarily true, that can take a little bit of time to unravel. We can blame ourselves for things that are not fully ours, that are not fully our responsibility. And it's really important to be able to unravel that a little bit and let go of it in some way, to not take the full responsibility for other people and situations where we've been left with guilt or shame. So sad, anxious, guilty, shame, they're the four main emotions that you find in depression, and really focusing on them and unraveling them is a key piece in trying to manage and understand your depression. Obviously, depression is different for everybody, because depending on different people's past experiences, depression will come up. Depression is kind of natural. For example, if someone close to me, or when someone close to me has passed away in the past, I have been deeply upset and a bit depressed. And I'm not happy about being depressed, but it felt right. I wanted to be down. I was really sad. I really grieved people that I loved passing, and that is natural and healthy, and it's okay to be a little bit depressed some of the time in response to a situation where it is the response is to feel a bit down about it. But when depression is a real issue is if you can't see the real reason, you can't break out of it, it is constant and it goes on for a long period of time and it doesn't make sense. Like, I can rationalize healthy depression. I feel down about this situation or that. That's natural. That's okay. It will last me a day, a few days, or whatever it is, because and maybe it's intermittent over those few days. But either way, there's something very important about realizing when depression is healthy and natural and a valid response to a difficult situation, and when it's taking over you, or when you have gone into an unhealthy spiral with depression. Other signs of depression are having a low sense of self or a low self-esteem, not feeling that you are of value or valued enough, or that people value or appreciate you enough, or that you're worth much, not feeling that people would want to be around you, or that you'd be good at things, or that you're capable, putting yourself down, giving yourself a hard time, saying that you're not worthy of certain things that you have. And that is not healthy, and obviously needs to be addressed and managed, but is often a sign of depression. Another sign for many people is having low energy, or feeling tired or fatigued a lot or all of the time. Often people will hit the bed and may not get up for days. And a part of that is getting lost in the ruminative thoughts, the sadness, the down feelings, getting lost in it and sinking into yourself. And it's so exhausting. You don't have the energy to get up and do much. Another sign of depression is to have little interest in doing things, in particular things that you might have enjoyed or things that might have made you feel good don't make you feel good anymore. That you might lose an interest in your hobbies, in your friends, in your family, in your work life, in your social life, in any of the things that might have brought you joy in the past. Another sign is having poor sleeping habits or sleeping a lot or feeling tired an awful lot of the time. Often people with depression might be awake during the night and asleep during the day, almost in an out of sync sort of cycle. And of course, we really need our sleep and we need to have a healthy sleep-wake cycle. We need our circadian rhythms to be in balance. Sleep is where we balance any sicknesses that's happening in the body. We balance our hormones. We regenerate, almost like charging in your phone at night. We rejuvenate and regenerate the body at nighttime well in our sleep. I suppose we can do that a bit during the day, but it's better to be in the natural sync and natural rhythm with life. If you're normally in touch with the circadian rhythms of night and day, and being out of sync with that is a sign that you are more depressed, then that is something that you might want to learn to figure out or manage. Many people, when they're feeling depressed, struggle to concentrate, or they ruminate or have a lot of negative self-talk or negative thoughts in their head. So this is a really big part of depression. Whatever is being said in your head to yourself is really often either the thoughts are a manifestation or a way of the emotions expressing themselves, or those thoughts are pulling you down. So it's either the emotions are overwhelming and the thoughts are connected to the emotions, or the thoughts themselves are attacking you or making you feel really bad about yourself. So rumination is where we think about the same things over and over again. And if you're doing that in a way that is saying things like you're not good enough, you're not able, nobody wants you, you made a mess of this, whatever those thoughts are, if they're really negative thoughts and it's a cycle and that cycle is pulling you down, like as if you're getting stuck in quicksand and you're sinking deeper and deeper into it, then it's really important to address those thoughts, to address those emotions and unravel them, see what they're trying to say to you and come out of it. Sometimes we have those thoughts because we are a bit perfectionistic or have high expectations of ourselves and we didn't achieve that high expectation that we had. And if we do have high expectations of ourselves, or if we are a bit perfectionistic, then we do need to address that. We need to be realistic. We need to think, well, hang on, what is a healthy human ability here? Because we look at others and we think, oh, they are doing all these amazing things, I should be able to do them. But we have no idea about what kind of supports people have or what systems they have in place that helps them to do what they do. So you need to see what you have, what systems you have in place, what supports you have in place, and have a realistic idea of what you're able to achieve with that system that you have with your human self. So if you've made the expectations too high or you're too perfectionistic about it, then you're going to feel really bad about yourself, like you're not good enough. You're going to be really guilty maybe, or you might have shame depending on the situation. But part of having those feelings and thoughts is because you were aiming too high or expecting too much, and that's not fair on you. So really addressing that, really looking at that and trying to unravel it and figure it out if that is the thing that's causing you to be depressed. For many people, another sign of depression will be that they're not interested in living anymore, that they feel like they can't take anymore, that they may have suicidal thoughts, or they might want it all to end, or they might feel hopeless, like they can just never get out of this situation. And again, it's really important when this is happening to address these feelings and thoughts and to come up with some kind of management plan. If they are very serious, and if you have gone to a place where you're starting to think about plans of how to commit suicide, then really intervention is very important at that point. You need to get support, you need to get help, you need to talk to a therapist, talk to a group, talk to a counsellor, talk to someone who advises you, talk to friends and family, talk to a doctor. But addressing that is really important. Then for some people, a sign of depression is feeling aches and pains. So some people will feel quite serious aches and pains and stiffness and tightness in their body when they're down. So some techniques to manage depression. The first one, which I just discussed a bit, is to look at the thoughts that are happening in your body, in your mind, to identify these thoughts, to learn how to manage these thoughts and address them, and finding a way to deal with them or understand them, and getting help with that if you need to. Another technique to help manage depression is to look into the future and to have something to aim for, to have a reason to get up and get going, to find something that you'd like to do, to look at a course or a job or a group that you'd like to be involved in, or a hobby that you'd like to achieve to a certain level, to find some kind of aim to motivate you, to help pull you out of that depression, to have something that gives you a reason, that gives you drive, that gives you excitement, that gives you a good feeling, something that you can attain, that you can achieve, even if it takes a bit of time. Another technique to manage depression is to look at what is unresolved in the past. If there is something that's unresolved in the past that is coming up and weighing you down. Because when you push things down that you don't deal with properly or you don't resolve, they do come back up. Sometimes they come back up in distorted ways. You know, you might have been, again, bullied when you were a child, but if you were bullied when you were a child and didn't manage it or deal with it or address it, and then in the future you might always be prepared or expect that people are trying to bully you in some way, and that might make you feel like you can't achieve things or you can't do things because you've got this constant fear of being put down, and that might feel too much and it might get overwhelming, and you might just get depressed about the pressure of trying to deal with this constant fear that you have. So sometimes things that happened in the past are weighing us down and stopping us from really having that free flow that we can have when we feel confident and empowered and free of the trappings of our past, even if some of it's still there, but in general a sense of freedom from our past, and we can move forward, we can be motivated, we're not held back, we're not pushed back. So if something from the past is unresolved and weighing you down, then addressing that. Another technique is to try and find a way out of your difficult situation, and again focus on the future. So if you're in a situation where you're kind of boxed in, you're trapped, you're stuck in it, often it's helpful to talk to friends, family, therapists to find a way, because when you're trapped in a box you can't always see the way out. But when you get support and help and advice from others, they can help you see outside of the box, help you think more about what's going on, help you develop and grow and change and find a way out of your situation into a healthier situation, or to maneuver your situation in such a way that you make it healthier. Sometimes addressing difficulties and finding a compassionate way to do that, or being strong from a compassionate place to help you to become empowered to change it. Another technique is to implement lifestyle changes that help you move from where you are. So that could be anything. It could be that you drink too much alcohol, you eat too much unhealthy food. If there are certain patterns in your lifestyle that aren't helpful, that are pulling you down and making you feel depressed, then finding a way to address those and change those. I know that for people that have a habit of having a drink or two every day, that can be masking fears and anxieties, or maybe it masked fears and anxieties at a time when things were difficult in life, but now things aren't difficult anymore, but you're still using that old pattern that you were doing to deal with the difficulties before. Either way, I know that can be a difficult one to overcome, and either it's still important to overcome it. It's still important to find a way to address any long-standing, even if they're mild, drinking issues, to address eating habits if they're unhealthy, because unhealthy food, too much unhealthy food, can make us feel sluggish, heavy, tired, and that in itself is demotivating, you know. Exercise can be really helpful. It helps to move away the negative feelings. It helps to mop up or move excess adrenaline. When you exercise, you end up with a bit more serotonin and dopamine, which is the happy, positive, feel-good hormone. So the more you do even just a little bit of exercise, even just a little walk every other day, that can really help to move depression, to make us feel good. I often find that people with depression will not exercise, and that when they know they're getting into a better place, they're starting to move and do things again. And for some people, they know this, and so when they're starting to feel depressed, they will start pushing themselves into exercise because they know that helps shift the depression. They know that helps move things. It changes the hormones in the body, which makes you feel different. It makes you feel better. Other techniques I've already mentioned include things like making sure your sleep is healthy and helpful, monitoring your diet, and journaling can be really helpful. Some people don't like journaling, so that's fine, but if you find that journaling helps you unravel the confusion that is inside your head and inside your emotions, then that could be a really helpful technique in you processing whatever it is that's being repressed, unraveling it, and getting clear of whatever it is that's bringing you down. It's important in general for all of us to build our self-esteem in a healthy, compassionate way, not to be egotistical. And I think people get confused between having a big ego and having good self-esteem. I mean, you can feel that you are confident and capable and good at doing what you want in life, and that doesn't mean that you have a big ego. Egotistical is someone that puts other people down to puff themselves up. Being empowered, having good self-esteem, just means that you believe in yourself and that you trust that you're capable and you have a healthy drive and healthy confidence to get things done. There is nothing wrong with having a good self-esteem. So whether you're depressed or whether you go in and out of bouts of depression, either way, working on your self-esteem and trying to figure out how to make that calmly confident, strong inner self is really important. Again, if you find that you're perfectionistic or very judgmental or very critical of yourself, then that really has to be addressed. That's not helpful. That's going to bring anybody down. We don't cope with inner critics giving us a really hard time. I've known people who think that if they don't give out to themselves, then they won't get anything done. And it simply isn't true. We can still do things and be nice to ourselves in our head. We don't need a critical, shouty inner voice giving out to us to make us do things. We can be kind to ourselves and still get stuff done. And I suppose that's something that some people need to practice and try out and see if it works. What that brings us to is working on a positive inner voice. So learning how to have a nurturing, caring, supportive, healthy, compassionate inner voice is so important. And it can be helpful maybe in your journaling to write down, what is it that my inner voice says to me? What is the pattern? What does it typically say? How does it typically treat me? What are its expectations? And am I being nice to myself? Can I be kinder to myself? How would I do that? Sometimes I get people to focus on someone in their life who was very kind to them and to start to talk to themselves, not to be that person, but to make their own version of that. or several people and how they were kind, and make a mix of a few different people. But either way, developing a kind and caring inner voice that supports and nurtures us is crucial, and we all deserve that. Why wouldn't we have that? Nobody else lives in your head. You know, nobody's going to know if you're nice to yourself, so be nice. There's nothing wrong with being nice to yourself. I think it's really important to be kind to yourself in your head. From that perspective, mindfulness can be a really helpful technique as well to manage depression. So in mindfulness, you just try and observe the reality of what is going on right now. So that helps you to see what is happening in the moment. What are you saying to yourself? How is your past affecting it? And it gives you the space and the clarity, the observer, the curiosity to start to change that. Mindfulness is all about curiosity. How do you change? How do you see what's really here in the present? How do you really see it without all the past stuff getting in the way? So mindfulness is about being curious, about paying attention to what's happening, and also about being kind to yourself in the process. Another technique to manage depression is creativity. And I find that many creative people will find that they lose their creativity when they're feeling depressed. But still working on something that tries to bring that creative spark back into your life can be really helpful, or can help prevent you getting into depressions, or can help be a technique that keeps you free from depression or away from unhealthy depression. So if there are certain things in your life that you find build your creativity, get you really engaged in that creative spark that is part of our human lives, then for making sure that you keep that in your life, making sure you do things that are inspiring and creative for you. Another technique that can be really helpful is working on a gratitude practice. So some people find that gratitude practices are really difficult because they don't feel it, and it is important to feel it when you're doing a gratitude practice. It's important to really think about and spend time looking at what you have in life and how lucky you are for what you have. Because if you're taking things for granted and your expectations are too high, then you're missing the possibility of really enjoying what you have. So in a healthy way, lowering your expectations and appreciating all that is around you and all that you have. Grateful people, the research on grateful people says that they have more positivity, more social engagement, they take on tasks with excitement, they are engaged, they are interested, involved, they achieve, they believe in themselves, they believe and trust in things around them. Obviously, we have to balance trust and have healthy trust and not be overly trusting, but a sense in general of trusting that things will work out, that you can make things work, trusting in yourself, believing in yourself, all ties in with being grateful. So gratitude really, it extends into a whole way of being that is really, really our potential and really helpful for us as people. So wherever you have to start with your gratitude practice, start, because it's going to help. It's going to improve your life in some way, in many ways. Finally, a very important technique to help us deal with depression is to take the support from friends and family, to not hide away from them, to communicate with them, to talk to them, to listen to them, to think about what they have to say, and to stay connected, to not self-isolate too much, because that's really harmful and hurtful, and we get lost more in the depression. So I wish you all the best with this. Thank you.